quite a number of issues, and right about now I will cross over to him to begin his address.
Fellow citizens, we are yet again faced with a situation as before, which is really dreadful, which is unacceptable and cannot be allowed to continue. Absolutely cannot be allowed to continue. I will address a couple of issues, but primarily today we are inviting the citizens of Zambia in this country, those that live outside this country, to pay attention to what PF is doing with regard to the rights, liberties and freedoms of the citizens of Zambia, and indeed of Africa, indeed citizens of the world, who enjoy these fundamental human rights, liberties and freedoms, and enjoy these from the time they're born, from the time God decides that they will enter this earth, this world. These rights, in the case of Zambia and many other countries, are constitutional as well. Birthrights, but also constitutional. I think it's important to indicate that these rights are also universal. It means no individual, it means no government. Even insane governments can take these rights away from citizens of this world, of this country. Zambians of late are experiencing a situation which has been building up for quite some time, but many citizens may have not paid attention. Indeed, some of us have paid attention over the years since PF came into office in 2011. That their intent is to create a situation where citizens are gagged, citizens cannot speak, they cannot express themselves, they cannot even move freely, neither can they exercise their freedom of conscience. Media freedoms, we've seen what they've done to media freedoms. We haven't forgotten the closure of prime television, which must be reopened forthwith. We've not forgotten the closure of post newspapers by this PF regime. We have not forgotten the time they closed the Tej radio, Common radio, and what they did, or they've been doing of that, on the media houses in the Northern Circuit, to be specific, Mpika, restraining them from covering citizens who wish to express themselves freely. In Chisani, in Lusaka, and not long ago, in Luwingu, where when they could now not raid radio stations, they had to use ZESCO, abuse ZESCO, the inefficient ZESCO, to cut power so that citizens cannot express their freedom of conscience to think through their expression. We've seen too many of this. I am saying that, we are saying that Zambians want to enjoy their rights, fundamental rights. They want to enjoy their fundamental liberties and freedoms. No one, and I mean no one, I repeat, should take these freedoms away from the citizens of Zambia. Clearly, Mr. Lungu is responsible for all that we see, all this affront to citizens' freedoms, particularly in the last couple of days, to the youth, our youth, to the artists, the musicians, and indeed, for a long time, to political party members, those of us who are in the genuine opposition. Mr. Lungu is squarely responsible for the outbursts of one guy who really should have never been a minister in the name of Lusambo. You look at Lusambo's behavior, it's a thuggish behavior. It is far from being a minister. In a decent government, of course, but in the PF government, maybe he qualifies to be a minister, but not in a decent government. Certainly not a government that UPND will bring about in a couple of months from now. God's will, courtesy of the people of Zambia. Mr. Lungu is the one, not Lusambo, but Mr. Lungu is the one encouraging Lusambo, instructing Lusambo to behave the way he behaved at a press briefing a few days ago. Is the one encouraging Kamchongo to threaten citizens, rights, liberties, and freedoms. It is Mr. Lungu, no one else. I put it to the people of Zambia, stop looking around. Who is encouraging these people to behave this way? Who is encouraging these thugs to behave this way? It is said, birds of the same feathers flock together. That's an English adage. And I'm sure it is self-explanatory, and we cannot allow this to happen as citizens. Mr. Lungu, through his mouthpiece, Lusambo, and now Kamchongo, as he has done before, he's wondering why the youth are angry. He's wondering why the musicians, the artists are angry. He is threatening through Lusambo, Biflo, of course, Malembe, who has since apologized. I'm not too sure what he was apologizing for, because he was exercising his constitutional rights. And indeed, other artists, other musicians. And the majority of the youth are unhappy. They are posting things on social media. That's media. That's legal media. And now Mr. Lungu is instructing his thug, chief thug called Lusambo, to act in a senseless manner, taking away people's rights, people's freedoms and liberties. It is unacceptable. And Mr. Lungu is asking why the youth are angry. You can't ask the youth why they're angry. You are the reason that the youth are angry. The youth have no jobs. They have no opportunities. The youth have no businesses. Even before the coronavirus came to visit this country, the youth already had no opportunities. Roaming the streets, after graduating from college, no jobs. Why? Because the economy has collapsed under visionless leadership. A leadership, yashakwatachi mono, iri bevision. There are no job opportunities, which they were promised, the youth. Who promised the youth more jobs? It's the PF. So the youth are saying, where are the jobs you promised us? Where are the business opportunities you promised us? The business opportunities are going to foreigners. Every day. PF is protecting foreigners. I've never seen a government protecting foreigners at the expense of its own citizens. Yes, every citizen of the world must be protected. But your primary responsibility is to look after your children, to look after your family members. In this case, the people of Zambia, the youth of Zambia, the musicians of Zambia, and other citizens. But today, if you are a foreigner in this country, you are likely to have a plot of land. You are likely to be given a contract, even to supply paper at a ministry, bond paper. You are likely to have a road contract. If you're a Zambian, it's a crime to do business. If you are lucky you are given business, you're a supplier, a contractor, you are not paid on time. This is shameless. And you are asking the youth, Why are you angry? You are the reason that the youth are angry, no one else. It is clear, Mr. Longo, this third called Lusambo, Kampyongo, who I thought was beginning to behave correctly and is degenerating to his old ways of threatening Zambians. It's clear these individuals and the PF thugs, not many, but the few PF thugs that are eating from these crimes of corruption in the PF. To remind specifically, Mr. Lungu, Mr. Lusambo, Thug Lusambo, Kampyongo, the few PF thugs who are terrorizing people are not in the world. It is very clear. These are not in the world. I want to say to the people of Zambia, to the youth in particular, to the musicians, I want to encourage you to speak out. Continue, because you are within the law. Universal rights, liberties, and freedoms. You are within the remit of the law. Continue speaking. If you are silenced, you agree to be silenced, it means you are endorsing brutality. You are endorsing dictatorship. You are endorsing a regime that has denied you basic necessities, food, jobs, education, business opportunities. Your silence, if you choose to be silent, you will be directly, not indirectly, endorsing and agreeing with what this brutal regime is doing to the people of Zambia and to your future. So speak out. We are not supporting you. We are with you. We are together. Stand on our shoulders. Stand on each other's shoulders. We stand on each other's shoulders. We are stronger. Speak one, speak two. Shout when you are many, but even when you are alone, say something to preserve your rights. That is what our freedom fighters did. Colonial struggle was waged by the youth, was waged by many. But it starts with an individual. Don't feel intimidated. For a long, long time in this country, HH was seen to be a pariah, speaking on Congole Kalova, and I was called names. Did I stop speaking? No. I continued because I knew I was right. Now everybody knows that we were right. I kept on speaking on corruption. I was detained, I've been detained. Did I stop speaking? No, because I knew I was right. You too continue speaking because you are right. You're on the right side of the law. You're on the right side of history. You are not alone. You join the many in the world that want to preserve their freedoms. And no one, and I mean no one, should be allowed to take away our freedoms. Step up. Many times, the youth are called leaders of tomorrow. Take leadership today. That's my message. Many people tell you, you are leaders of tomorrow. I say to you, you are leaders of today. Let's work as a team. Common interest. This country has always risen together when our common interests are challenged, like they are now. They are now. So let's stay together. I want to assure the youth, my friends, our friends, the youth. I want to assure the artists, musicians, that HH, UPND, we will restore these fundamental human rights, liberties, and freedoms in a few months from now. As you put us in office to save you, not to threaten you. not to use the machinery of the law, of the state, to cripple Zambians' conscience. We are different. I hear many times people saying politicians are the same. We are cut from a different cloth. You can't go into public office to threaten citizens. You can't do that. Who are you? What are you? What are you in public office for? Obviously not to sell. But you can see the lavish lifestyles all of a sudden they're enjoying. People who had nothing a few years ago. Now they're lavishing in wealth, of course stolen wealth. We know their salaries. How much are they paid? Very little. But instead of now helping the youth, you're brutalizing them. Stop it. Stop it, please. So, UPND assures you of restoration of the fundamental human rights, liberties, and freedoms, media freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, will be assured to you. Personally, I don't get intimidated by what I've been seeing from Lusaka, that thuggish behavior. I watched him on television on Diamond. I couldn't believe a chap called a minister could expose such idiocy, such aggression, such ignorance of people's rights on national television, which automatically becomes a global television because of technology. I couldn't believe it. And then in Rufunsa, a few days ago, day before yesterday in Chirundu, Mr. Lungu is encouraging him to threaten musicians, to threaten the youth, to clamp down on the youth. Therein lies the proof that Mr. Lungu is responsible for what Lusambo is doing. No, we don't agree. You don't have to use the instruments of the state to oppress citizens. You're supposed to use instruments of the state, including the police, to protect citizens, not to threaten citizens' rights. No. In my mind, I'm convinced that what the youth are doing is right. What the musicians are doing is right. Let's all work with it. Unity of purpose. There is no question. That is why the youth are saying Bally is in the world here. They understand, they can draw the distinction. So, let's push ahead. Can you imagine some 2 UPND youth went to notify the police of an intended peaceful demonstration over the Sudanese god, what we can call now the Sudanese god scam, Sudanese with the same PF thugs, to steal gold from our country, from our citizens, and stash the money outside the country. Some people, how many homes can you buy outside Zambia? You are hardly outside Zambia. Coronavirus now has made it impossible for you to live in your homes outside Zambia. We're wasting resources that are supposed to benefit the health sector, education sector, agriculture sector, and the youth and the women. Why waste money? It's just lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, lack of values. The youth are locked up. Imagine for just notifying the police about an intended peaceful demonstration, the youth are in jail. They're in detention. We should not allow this to happen, people of Zambia, especially the youth. You are the soldiers of any nation, any struggle. Conscience lives in the youth more than any other generation. This is a historical fact. Some of us started the struggle, most of you don't know, from the time we were 20 at the University of Zambia. We used to viva, and we never used to shy away. So, I encourage the youth not to be intimidated. Police, release those youth who applied for a demonstration. They're exercising their rights. Release them, forthwith. Release them. Let them be with their families, because that's where they should be. I want to cover a second issue very briefly. Police brutality. police brutality. It must be clear to all of us now that the brutality you see the police exhibiting when there's a peaceful assembly, when there is a demonstration, the way they did to Laura Miti and others at Parliament grounds around there, brutal attack on armless and harmless citizens. Are you wondering how and what the hell gives the police courage to do that? Stop wondering. It is an instruction from Mr. Lungu, through the likes of Lusambu, through the likes of Kampyongo. I heard these threats in Mfunso Chirundu. Those are empty threats, Kampyongo. You are not there to brutalize citizens using people's police. You're not there to do that. Understand your duty. I thought you had begun to behave yourself. I was wrong. Completely wrong. Please behave yourself, because you are in public office for the people. That office belongs to people, including the youth. More important, the youth, because they are the largest in population, and women. Stop behaving like a small king in a pot, in a small tin. Stop behaving like that. This is not your country. This is our country. This is a youth country. Women own this country, not you alone. Stop behaving like just a little rat in a tin. Stop behaving like that. It's unacceptable. We can read what you're trying to do. Frighten off people, scare people off, so you can continue stealing public resources. You can continue getting gifts from contractors that are given contracts at the expense of the youth. My youth, we say no to that. UPND members are having intra-party elections and they're being brutalized. The PF members are having intra-party elections, the police are protecting them. What's happening? What's the issue? Are there two laws in this country? No. There's only one constitution, which is the bedrock of all the secondary laws. Why is this double standards going on? This is truly now, everything under PF is animal farm style. Some animals are more equal than others. You can't have that in a country called a democracy. We understand the desperation of the PF, that they've lost grip. The economy has collapsed. The Bank of Zambia has confirmed that there will be no growth this year to talk about. But yet PF inherited an economy growing at 7%. What wiped out the economy? It was not coronavirus. It was a virus called Dununa reverse. That's the one that wiped out the economy. What damaged the kwacha is not the coronavirus, as the PF are trying to make us believe. It is a Dununa reverse virus that drove the kwacha from 5 kwacha to $1 to 15 kwacha to $1 by December 2019. There was no coronavirus then. Then you want to cheat us, you want to lie to us. No, it's a coronavirus that has destroyed the economy. Nimwewo. It's your incompetence. Luckily, the UPND has a medicine, has a drug to heal this coronavirus, this Dununa reverse virus before the coronavirus came. And that's the vision and leadership of the UPND. Prudent management of resources, cost control, no wastage, equitable distribution of resources across the country, social justice, we shall ensure. That's a medicine. It's only held by the UPND, not in the PF. There's no more confidence in the PF. We understand your desperation. But you cannot motivate the police to be brutal. Allow UPND to have their intra-party elections, allow any other party. It's a constitutional requirement. Why are you afraid of UPND having intra-party elections? So that you can disqualify UPND in the 2021 elections. We see you. We see where you're trying to go. Zambians will not allow you to do that. Don't motivate the police to kill. In America today, when people ask you in the last 10, 12 days. What is the name? The answer is George Floyd, the one who was brutally killed by the police. A knee placed on the neck of one American citizen called George Floyd. We mourn George Floyd. We offer our sincere condolences to his family and his children for the loss of life, unnecessary life, at the hands of a brutal police gang in Minnesota. But while we mourn George Floyd, what's the name? George Floyd. And console the American people and, of course, through his family, we have our own names here. Yes, the name in America is George Floyd. The names here is Mapens Chibulo in Lusaka, downtown. 22-year-old lady, young lady, who left a son gunned down by the police, and when she was exercising her constitutional right, freedom of assembly, an assembly that was notified to the police, and Mapens Chibulo was gunned down. Have we forgotten? No. Will we forget tomorrow? No. Will we forget next year? No. That's our George Floyd of Zambia. Who else? What's the name? Lawrence Banda in Kaoma. Who killed Lawrence Banda? PF thugs in collusion with the police. Because that's the new style of the PF. PF thugs, small number, known people, working with the police. What is his name in Kaoma? Lawrence Banda. Have we forgotten Lawrence? No. Tomorrow, will we forget Lawrence? No. Next year? No. The solution is not to forget Lawrence Banda. It's to remember how he was brutalized, shot, executed, cold blood. And the killers are out there. The police have not interviewed anybody, including those who confess to have been present. Police brutality? No. Police killings? No. Thugs working with the police, killing citizens, killing our youth. All of these people are mentioning in Zambia. Mapens, youth. Lawrence Banda, youth. No. Police are supposed to protect the youth, not to kill the youth, the future of this country. Who else? What is the name? Vespas Shimunjila at Unza, killed by police tear gas canisters. Today, is there any policeman in custody? No. Why not? Because Mr. Lungu, Lusambo, and Kampyongo have instructed the police to kill the youth. Whose youth? Our youth. Your sisters, your brothers. Many more names have gone down at the hands of the police brutality and killings. This has to stop. Anyone occupying public office and using public office and instruments like the police to brutalize, to kill citizens, does not deserve to be in public office. Full stop. I ask the people of Zambia, how many more people will be brutalized by the police through Mr. Lungu, Lusambo, Kampyongo before you stand up and say no to that? Within the law, within the constitutional provisions. How many more? How many more media houses will be attacked and destroyed before you stand up to say no? How many more? How many more people do you want arrested for notifying the police of an intended peaceful demonstration, be it on the Sudanese corrupt Zambian government's court scam, be it on the freedoms, media, freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom of assembly? How many more people do you want brutalized before you come together and say no? We shouldn't wait and ask for more people to be killed, more people to be brutalized. This is it. We must exercise our constitutional right, first and foremost, to stop a rogue regime from doing what the PF is doing today. And I encourage PF, genuine PF members, those who supported Mr. Sata, genuine, to say no. This is not what Mr. Sata stood for. No. You cannot be party to this brutality on the youth, on the musicians, on ordinary citizens. You cannot be party to that. Ask your conscience, seek your conscience, search your conscience. Is that what Mr. Sata wanted? No. So why are you doing it? You are doing it to keep in luxury, to keep the corrupt to continue eating while you cannot afford decent meals at home. If you are not aware, your actions is encouraging the corrupt to continue building houses, mansions from your money when you cannot even have a plot. You cannot continue supporting such gluttonous people at the expense of yourself, your future, and your opportunities. This is a time to say no. This is a time the country comes together in unity of purpose, as we did to deliver independence, as we did to deliver multipartism in 1991, as we did to say no to the third term in 2001. Now is the time to work together and say no to all this nonsense going on. No to protecting the few, to damage the youth, to damage the musicians, to damage the many. You are a civil servant, you are asked to rig the 2021 elections, you must say no. This time around, I'm not doing it. Positive action. You work in the Electoral Commission, you are asked to announce wrong results. This time you should say no, because you don't want to be party. You don't want to be a team member to the destruction of our future through the youth. I want to strengthen the people of Zambia, the youth in particular. You can lean on our shoulders. You can lean on each other's shoulders. We are together. You're not ahead, we are together. Those who are still afraid, I encourage you to shake your fear off. Because fear, when you know what next, which is negative, which will hurt you, means you're already dead. So stand up for your rights. Shake away the fear. Even if you are wrong, shake off that fear. In unity, we shall succeed. And we'll take this country where it should be, where the country will be proud, the youth will be proud to be growing up in a country called Zambia, decent country, rich country, gold, emeralds, copper, uranium, water, soils, human beings. But the citizens are poor. The youth have no education. Who is stealing money for the youth to be in school, even orphans and those from the poor family? It is the PF. It is the Rusambos, it's the Kampiopos. Let's draw the line. This is it. We exercise our legal rights. Keep your hopes high, because help is on the way. But you are part of the help. Act positively. Get your national registration card, get your voter's card, and on the voting day, you shouldn't be told, you shouldn't be given a chitenge, you shouldn't wait for a t-shirt. Go and liberate yourselves by voting for a decent leadership. And that is the UPND. Epela. God bless Zambia. God strengthen each and every one of you. I thank you.